Pokemon Legends ZA's combat system is a complete failure, and not only because Pokemon Legends ZA is the worst action game released in at least the last decade, but because it's so meaningless. There's no reason to invest into a combat system that no one is going to be playing a month from now because the game was very poorly received. And the only competitive mode being a 4-man battle royale is going to turn off a lot of competitive players because it really reduces skill expression since you have no real way to strategize and it just becomes a base stat checking gank box. And I'm also thinking that they probably made it this way because 1v1s just do not function with how broken the core combat system is. But the reason why I'm making this video is because I wanted to get into competitive Pokemon Legends ZA, and I still find it fascinating because there's so many changes in this game that there's a lot of strategy to dive into and uncover and potentially change up the meta or change up how people play to a significant degree. But also you can just kind of tell from like the tier list and everyone running Garchomp and the same Pokemon, and Glaceon is even viable now as a counter pick to common Pokemon like Dragonite. Now, I don't think anything is representative of the true competitive potential of this game at this time, but exploring that is going to take so much work because the system was so completely revamped. One thing I discovered is a hidden speed stat. So the overworld movement speed of a Pokemon isn't listed anywhere. As far as I can tell, hasn't been data mined or explored, but that's going to be the biggest thing, or one of the biggest thing that makes a Pokemon viable, because if it's too slow to keep up with your trainer, it's just going to get pelted by moves and KO'd, or by the time it walks over to an opposing Pokemon, your opponent just walks out of the way of the move, you whiff, and then get punished for it, which also goes into move viability, because that's something that's also changed up a lot. Mega Horn and Drill Run are super strong, so I want to make a video about like a crazy Excadrill set. So we have a lot of different move options and strategy options and different play styles for each Pokemon. So the potential competitive depth is there, and it would be something really cool to explore, but it's not worth exploring for no audience on a very temporary game and experience that doesn't really seem to have any competitive care based off of a completely non-functioning battle system. I've already come up with a really cool Alakazam strategy and team composition that's been very successful for me. It's like there's a couple videos worth making, but then to test everything, you have to play the game, which is an atrocious experience of just like infinite ZA Royale to maybe get some points and not have true competitive Pokemon because bottle caps are impossible to get. But, like, you can test things and see if they feel okay, but it just takes like so much work to make the team, and then no one's playing and no one cares, and then the viewership doesn't like reflect any of the work put into the video. So like, what's the point playing? And then no one else is playing and no one else is doing that. Zero engagement whatsoever. So like, it's already a dead format just 2 weeks into the game. Even though there's a lot of potential to unearth here, no one wants to do it. And it also brings us to a problem with the Pokemon community in general, because they hate having to play the game. They hate having to work for things, which is what you have to do if you want to engage with competitive Pokemon. And then they also just refuse to engage with PvP elements of Pokemon, even though that is literally the core foundation, the start of the franchise through the Game Boy Link cable and all of the promotion of the series and the franchise, where it's like you are supposed to train your critters to be the best like no one ever was, and that means battling other kids and then winning in your little bug fight competition. Modern Pokemon players, I can't call them fans because they hate the core mechanics of Pokemon too much to recognize as fans, don't want to engage with any of this, so there's even a smaller audience, and now we have a really big problem with the idea of Pokemon Legends combat system, and that's also why I'm calling it a failure, is because now we're splitting the player base with the worst selling main series Pokemon game in the last 15 years. So Pokemon is hemorrhaging players, interest is down because of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Nintendo lawsuits, people just being down on Game Freak for like the entire Switch era. I don't think any of that hate is valid or warranted. It's a lot of terminally online kids being ignorant and hateful, but the end result is that interest in Pokemon is also cratering, so it's the worst time to split the player base or introduce these new mechanics and have such a shakeup when your core fans are barely hanging on to begin with. We went a year without a Pokemon game, and now we have the Legends series, which just betrays everything Pokemon, especially with Pokemon Legends ZA. You can see that in the story where like, oh, ZA, you can't even call him a side character with how little he does inside of the Legends the story-based game, he does nothing, dies off screen, and then all of the lore that we were building up in Kalos just became completely fake and meaningless. And then also with how the ZA Royale works, that like you're incentivized to ambush opposing trainers. Like it's very nasty and dishonest as a game, as a series. Pokemon Legends is anti-Pokemon. It betrays the spirit of Pokemon. So when that's all you have as a Pokemon fan, that's even going to like split the values of the Pokemon community in half, and then you also just don't have people playing Pokemon to begin with. And this is while VGC is at the lowest it's been since Generation 5. VGC is dead, and don't let anyone else lie to you about that fact. 200 more cheaters at a regionals because they added a few $1,000s to the prize pool doesn't mean that VGC is growing or bigger than it's ever been, especially when Pokemon Scarlet and Violet had millions more sales than Pokemon Sword and Shield. So the games are growing, VGC is cratering. We can also prove that from the actual engagement, that it costs a lot of money to go to a regionals, and you have to be really invested for that. Anyone can just go onto a global challenge if they are interested in competitive Pokemon. So compared to the same time at the end of Sword and Shield, compared to the end of Scarlet and Violet, the player base is down 75%. We have 10,000 people for a global challenge, and over 80% of them are going to be Japanese. So like the amount of Western players is also just nothing. Even though Pokemon Sword and Shield, there was less reason to compete in the global challenges. For Pokemon Scarlet and Violet VGC, because of the new prize point system and how you earn your ticket to Worlds with there only being 75 slots, you need to participate in the global challenges. And then compared to the start of Pokemon Sword and Shield, it's down like 97%. So we have no retention of competitive players. If we go back to like 3DS era, there was still hundreds of thousands of players for these online competitions. The Pokemon community is too toxic and entitled to engage with any kind of Pokemon training or core mechanics, so they're not getting into VGC, and with how Pokemon Legends ZA is underperforming, they're not getting into that competitive as well. So now again, we've split the player base for no reason. This isn't going to last at all. Who knows what this means for Pokemon Champions? And now all these new mechanics aren't worth exploring, and it's not like anyone from outside of Pokemon cares about this baby game. Pokemon Legends ZA is the most dumbed down, childish game. Adding one of the worst action combat systems in the history of gaming doesn't change that the story is a 20-hour hand-holding tutorial, and then nothing else. Like, there's no depth or complexity to anything else, and you can tell that, like, oh, even Japanese players, the ones that are like trying to be cutting edge and do some really crazy competitive stuff, no, they're just running Garchomp as well. No one's taking Pokemon Legends combat seriously, and no real gamers are like, yo, this is actually sick, let's get into it. And you don't have any other commentators as well. That we have Asmongold and Moist Critical being really down on Pokemon Legends ZA because it is an objectively bad game. So there's not even like millions of people coming in from the outside. This isn't a branch of Pokemon that like, oh, we have the gamers playing Legends and really get into like all the cool, more mature or grown up stuff. It actually went the other direction, that it got dumbed down and babied, and then no one liked it, not even Pokemon fans. And then competitive, even then, like, Wolfie VGC has done nothing to grow VGC. He's only made Wolfie fans, not Pokemon fans. He even mentioned this in his recent videos, like, I don't like that chat only says, where's Wolfie? It's like, that's because you've done nothing to grow Pokemon. You've only grown yourself. Moist Critical, again, actually played Pokemon Showdown. Nothing stuck from him actually dedicating a lot of time to learning competitive Pokemon. So core competitive Pokemon is the lowest it's been in almost 15 years, and now we're also like splitting this very fragile player base into a broken system that you have to relearn. And that's kind of what upsets me about it. I want to learn it. I want to break it. I want to find some really cool strategies. I want to find tech and depth and development and treat it the same as I do for the core competitive turn-based Pokemon battling. Also, it's so weird when like you add these things like, oh, Legends is canonically, officially main series, so you can't call a spin-off, can't do anything like that. So it's like, oh, main series Pokemon, but now we have like main series for the actual like new generations and those games, and now it's like technically we have competitive combat for ZA. It's like the action versus the turn-based. It's all just a mess. I feel like the action combat can be explored and you can find some interesting stuff in that. But also, after all that dedication, you might realize, oh, this is still just completely uncompetitive and unplayable because the core mechanics cannot be salvaged, even if you find some, like, cool things. And then you get rank A, the rewards are pitiful. Your end of battle rewards are pitiful. And then there's nothing that says like, oh, I'm top 100. I am actually the best. All of my investment means something, because unlike Master Ball rank, when you hit rank A, it doesn't tell you like, oh, you're 8,000th. It is a casual baby game, even in the competitive mode, that doesn't do anything to make you want to improve or learn the system. And the way the ranking system works, you get 4th. You get dead last out of 4 people. You can still gain points and rank up. And when you get there, there's nothing to incentivize you to keep playing. And there's also nothing that, like, makes you want to grow and develop and, like, prove, like, yes, I figured this out. I'm one of the best players of this new combat system. See you guys in the future as this, like, gets better and develops. No, this is an afterthought of the worst Pokemon game ever made. So I can just kind of, like, look at the compelling stuff, feel bad about it, and now no one likes Pokemon at all anywhere because we had to wait 3 years for this horrible game. And now there's no Pokemon fans. Sick. Awesome. And then that just brings in the question, why even try? Why split for no reason? Why make this combat system, even if it was good? Because it cannot be successful with how the Pokemon community works. They're just, like, when you already have the best turn-based strategy game, just keep refining that. Just keep building what made Pokemon the best. Nope. Game Freak's lost it. Great. And now no one cares about Pokemon. Awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.